Welcome back, everyone. Yes, it's another daytime stream, or I don't know where you are around the world. It's just an early stream. And I'll give it a couple of minutes yet. I think people have been shocked that the early time of the stream, either that, but it's just going to be a very cozy stream. And I've got lots for us to get into, to muse over, and a big guest coming up on Monday. Remember to hit that like button, send it out on social media. Let's get this party started, as they say, somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere they say it. So then, who have we got in here today? Which usual suspects are lurking about in the chat room? It's absolutely fantastic to see Nana back in the chat room. Yes, indeed, one of our very first mods here on the channel. We've got Cameron, we have got Queen Goddess, Lee popping in on his break. Good to see you, brother. Bok bok. We also have Brian in there, my good friend Jason. Jason, you had me in stitches, dude. Absolute stitches. What is this country coming to? We can touch on that in a minute. We've also got Shanna. Blue Days is in there as well. Blue Days, are you not away to hospital yet? Have you still not had that baby? And then we've got some breaking news coming in from Sky News. You know, it's probably just another Twitter post or Instagram post from Harry and Meghan. You know how the UK is, right? Who else do we have in here? We have Tinker. We've got Brian. Who else am I seeing? Gordon. Good to see you. Skipper Key Philo was first in the chat today. Congratulations to you. Your name is on the list. Yes, you are on my list. Absolutely. Bearded Traveller kicking about again, and Becky. Oh, so close, Becky. You were within touching distance. All of those messages all seem to come in at exactly the same time. But yes, we've got a lot to discuss here, a lot to talk about. You know what the afternoon streams are like? They're very laid back, they're very chilled out, and it gives us an opportunity to look forward to today's main show as well, which is going to be an absolute doozy. We have got Dan and Jessica Nig coming on to the show. Yes, aka Mammoth Hunter in the chat room. Now, her and her husband Dan are archaeologists, and they just happen to come from one of my favorite places in the whole world, and that is, of course, Australia. So tonight we're going to be digging for truth down under with Jessica and Dan Nig. And we're also going to be touching on all of the current events and the situation that is unfolding in Australia right now. And on that note, the other day, I did say I would try and reach out to get somebody onto the show to come and speak to the situation in Australia as it is right now. Somebody who's been doing a lot of research on this, somebody that's been doing a lot of videos on this as well. And that gentleman was, of course, Mr. Max Egan. Now, I spoke with Max via text just before we came on air here today, and Max is going to be on the Kev Baker show on Monday. So on Monday, in hour number 1, Max Egan is going to be on the show. And as this stream goes on, we're going to take a little listen to what some of Mac's research on what's going on down under. Okay, so set that in your diary. Tell people on social media if they want to know what's going on in Australia with the fires and everything. Tune in Monday. Max Egan is going to be on the show. And also tonight, we're going to get the news from Jessica and Dan as well. Two people that are fortunately not in the direct line of all of this, but being in Australia, they'll be able to probably give us more than what the mainstream is telling us right now. So I'm really looking forward to having Max on again. I really do just wish it was a better subject. It's really hellish what you're seeing down there right now. There's no other way to put it. There really isn't. I think Max is somebody who's really at the front of researching this. He's got documents. He's got the evidence to back up what he's saying. We'll take a little look later on, like I said, in this stream at what Max is saying. We're going to take another look at what a couple of other Australians are saying about what's happening in their country, as opposed to the mainstream telling us that it's all to do with climate change and everything else, okay? So we'll be getting into that. And also today, to open up, we're going to be talking about these mystery drones again. I know, I keep going back to them. And it was meant to be just the mystery deepens. Because as you'll see in a moment, I've got a couple of stories where the plot thickens, if you may. And these mystery drones are above Colorado and Nebraska, right? But then, I need a drink of my coffee. But then, just as I was getting ready to do the show, and you know I'm rarely on Facebook these days, folks. I apologize for that. People message me there. I sometimes see it, I sometimes don't. But remember the other night we had Spooky Andy calling into the show? And that was the guy that works with the artificial intelligence / machine learning. And we touched on the mystery drone story, right? Because he comes from Colorado. And we were talking about the potential for maybe somebody, you know, some of these drone pilots, the geeks they are, and that's not to put them down, you know, but they may just be trolling people. Well, that was cool, and I liked that idea. But then just before I go to air today, I find Andy had messaged me again. And yes, the mystery drone story, the plot is thickening. However, what if I was to tell you I have got what might be a very, very plausible explanation. And not only that, it might be super, super cool as well. So let's take a look at how the story has started. The plot has thickened around the mystery drones, okay? We come over here, and I'm not going to read out these full stories. But we get the idea from the headline. It says, a spy plane is now called in to discover who is operating the mystery swarm of drones that hang in grid patterns over farmland in Colorado and Nebraska. So it says that the drones allegedly fly in grid-like patterns, and up to 30 have been seen at one time. No private company nor government agency have claimed responsibility, and the FBI is now joining a task force aimed at identifying the operators of the aerial vehicles. Now, the task force consists of 77 separate agencies, including the FAA and the Air Force and the Army. Do you think they're worried much? Do you think they're kind of desperate to know who it might actually be that's flying these drones? 2 seconds now, folks. 2 seconds. Yes. Hang on now. One of our mods messaging, just letting them know that I'm on a stream right now. Let me drop them the link. Hold on. You see, that's what I like about these afternoon streams as well. They're dead chilled out. They're dead relaxed. Quite informal. You can just kind of kick back. I can send people messages. It probably frustrates the hell out of all of you, but you know how I roll, folks. Hang on, here we go. There we go. That's that posted right then. So yeah, 77 separate agencies. Now, the other day, I was talking about how we need to be really on our toes here, because there could almost be a problem reaction solution element to this story, right? And what I mean by that is the drone industry in the US and around the world, it's massive. And the amount of people with just amateur type drones up to commercial type drones and everything in between and beyond, there's millions of these things out there. And I think, you know, that there is, and it's not that I think, but there is now, as we showed the other day, that they're trying to push legislation through that will mean that all of these drones, be it somebody that you know just down the street that owns one, Andy, he talked about he owned one, all of these people may be made to pay money to get technology such as, you know, like a tracker, like a transponder on an aircraft. Maybe they'll have to do something like that. Well, get this, because I came across this headline today, and I think that entirely backs up that particular scenario. Check this out. So this is the CES 2020. And that's where you get all the technology companies rolling out all of their Gucci gear and everything else, okay? But it says at this CES 2020, citing mystery drones, US Transportation Secretary advocates for new rules. Mysterious drones flying over Colorado and Nebraska offer a timely illustration. What a very, very convenient coincidence that all of this is going on just when they're trying to push through legislation that would mean drones should be equipped with remote IDs. You see how what I'm getting at here? I'm not saying that these drones are definitely government owned and are causing all of this brouhaha in the media and with people like me right now to cause a problem. And there's people out there who will look at recent stories with drones, quite bad, quite grim stories with drones coming from places like Saudi Arabia. When Iran, they were able to use a drone to take out one of their oil refineries. We see in modern warfare, not the computer game, how these drones are able to carry significant payloads of munitions. And folks, these drones in commercial land, just anyone can have them and even make them. They're able to carry a significant amount of weight. And that means, you know, it could be anything they're carrying. But from a security standpoint, you have to think about munitions, things like that. The potential for bad actors out there to do nefarious things. And that's exactly the kind of climate, the kind of mindset that they want to foment in the public, because the public will then go, well, this is crazy. We need to get some kind of handle on all of this. What are you going to do to keep us safe from all of these drones out there? How do we know if one drone pilot's good and another's bad? Well, you see, it just so happens, Mr. and Mrs. America, or UK, or anywhere around the world, that we're working on legislation right now that would mean that they have to identify their drones. And you see how that works. And also the drone community. You know, I'm sure most of the people, amateur drone enthusiasts, you've got people that race them, you've got photographers that use them for their work, for their actual, you know, to make a living. All different reasons for drones out there. And I'm sure 6 months ago, all of them would have said, you know, no way, shouldn't be having to regulate them or get transponders on them. But I bet you now, in light of this story, the way it's been portrayed in the media, all of the mystery surrounding it, people like me in the alternative media adding to it, there's going to be people out there that really do think this could be a good idea. Again, though, I'm not saying that is definitively what's happening with the drones. And I think Andy may have come up with a really, really, really good potential solution to the mystery drones. Are we ready to see this? This is really cool. So let me take you over here. Up. Wait till I get it up. Here it is. Yes. So, like I say, our good friend Andy, he had sent me this video. And he said, I think we might have solved the mystery drones. Now, I don't think we can ever definitively, from my armchair here or my computer chair here, tell you that I have proven that this is what's going on. However, I would like to think this might be the answer. And this is from a channel called Strange Things. It's called Canadian Scientists Develop a Plan to Plant Over 1 billion Trees Using Drones. Check this out.
A group of scientists in Canada have announced a new initiative to use drones to plant new trees cheaply and quickly in part of an effort to fight against the negative effects of climate change and deforestation. Called Flash Forest, the team began testing its drone delivery systems in August with a test flight that saw them successfully plant 100 trees with a drone.
Now, like I say, folks, just bear with this video. I can't say that this is definitely what's going on in Colorado, Nebraska right now. But it certainly does seem to tick a few of the boxes. But then you have to ask, why did permission not get sought? And why have they not come forward and killed all the mystery surrounding this by saying, yeah, it's us? I don't know. It's on my crime board, as I like to call it. I'm putting a pin in it. It's definitely a dot. Let's see what they've got to say.
Those results were so encouraging, they've expanded their goals to use their specially designed drone systems to plant 1 billion new trees by 2028. Every year the planet loses 13 billion trees and regains less than half of that, the team's Bryce Jones said in a fundraising video announcing the project. We started Flash Forest with the goal of healing the planet's lungs and taking that job seriously.
And I mean, this is actually a good idea. I like this idea. In fact, no, I love this idea. Okay? But then, does that mean you've got the right to go, like, guerrilla tactics, insurgent tree planting, by, like, going out at night and flying grid patterns over states in America? I mean, these are Canadian guys. Have people from Canadistan invaded America to plant trees? Is this what we're saying? And again, I'm having a bit of a laugh with it, okay? But I like the idea. I really do. And there's somebody else called, I think it's Mr. Beast, a YouTuber. He's on a quest to plant millions of trees right now. Elon Musk, he's chipped in. We've had one of my favorite YouTubers, The Quartering. He's chipped in money for the trees. Planting trees is a good thing, folks, and you don't need to go all tree hugger to see the benefits of that.
Until that job is done well, no other job matters. The drones don't just carry seeds themselves, but pods of nutrient-rich soil packed around 3 pre-germinated seeds like a casing, according to New Atlas. The nutrient-rich padding can keep the germinated seeds alive for up to 9 months, giving them plenty of time to take root in the local environment.
Think of how amazing that is, right? Not only dropping the seeds, but then giving them this almost sustenance, all the nutrition, everything they need to keep going, and again, until it takes root. I mean, this really is a good thing, this on its own. Now, I don't know if it figures in or factors into the whole Nebraska thing. Again, why would you have to do it late at night, and why would you do it all? I mean, it's cool to think about them in ninja suits and things, and we're going to learn. In fact, yeah, well, I'll play another little bit of it. I don't want to play too much. I'm very conscious of copyright. I'll post a link in the description on the chat room here. But yeah, take a listen to a bit more of this.
Each drone will be capable of shooting around 1 pod per second into the ground, and the system will allow 1 human pilot to operate as many as 10 drones simultaneously.
Now, 1 pilot, 10 drones simultaneously. The article we heard earlier on was 30 drones. Now, I don't need to be a mathematician or a genius to work out. You would need 3 pilots for that. And I think we did see 3 individuals back here kicking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals there. Certainly doable, right? Remember, we read the story about how they're looking for some kind of van as well. Remember that? Yeah, I don't know.
As 10 drones simultaneously. The group says their drone system can plant trees 10 times faster than what a human worker could do by hand, and for 1/5 the cost. Subsequent test flights since August have planted over 3,100 trees with their drones, including white spruce, white pine, blue spruce, red maple, white birch, sugar maple, Douglas fir, and balsam fir. Flash said it won't focus exclusively on trees, but other kinds of plants that complement certain kinds of trees for full ecosystem recovery. This summer, a Brazilian couple showed the power of reforestation when they showed the results of their own 20-year project to bring trees back to a 1,750-acre piece of land.
Wow. Wow. Now, like I say, folks, I can't tell you that that's what's going on in Nebraska. The plot does thicken. The plot does deepen. Who knows? Something's getting weirder in Nebraska and Colorado. And that Colorado, that's really at the forefront of my mind. There's a lot of sneaky beaky government military type stuff there, above and below ground. I don't know what's going on. We'll keep you up to date with the mystery drones, but we're going to shift gears in a moment. We're going to be going down under. We're going to be taking a look at a couple of very prominent characters that have emerged in recent years from Australia. They speak on the internet. One of them, who I mentioned earlier on, is Max Egan, who's going to be coming on my show on Monday to discuss the Australian fires. And we're also going to be hearing from somebody we usually go to for a more light-hearted, comical look at the world. But he's in Australia, quite obviously, because he's an Aussie man. We're going to be taking a look at what Aussie Man Reviews has put together on the fires. We won't be looking at all of it. I just need to show you the first part of it. And it's going to enrage you. It's going to make you mad, because it's going to show you how these politicians are so detached from reality. It's going to make your head burst. Trust me. We're going to go down under and get into the fires after I get a little drink of coffee and participate in the, you ready? Papa, papa, papa. Oh, yeah. Big shout out to everyone that's joining us right now. We're going to be talking about all the fires down in Australia when we come back in a couple of minutes. Well, I won't be talking about it. We'll be taking a look at what real Australians have to say about what's going on down under. And then we'll be looking forward to tonight when again I go down under and we speak to our good friends Jessica and Dan Nigg, aka Mammoth Hunter, two archaeologists fresh out of university, and they are going to blow our minds about all of that Australian woo. I can't wait. I hope you'll be there for it. It's only less than 5 hours away. So we're going to be going for this earlier time for the stream from now on. That way I get to swap hats and I become Mr. Doubtfire. When I get off the stream, I go and cook Anne's dinner. Gives me time as well to get ready for the nighttime stream. So it's going to be a 5 p.m. start in the UK. It's going to be noon on the on the East Coast and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. And then, of course, obviously, we'll always have the main Kev Baker show at night on truthfrequencyradio.com or tfrlive.com. And remember, if you do watch the simulcast here, all I ask is, and you don't need to, but all I ask is you open up the TFR chat room as well. And then you can have like 2 chat rooms for the price of 1. And that way, we're showing much love to the home of the Kev Baker show over at tfrlive.com. So while I've been on TFR Live, I've spoke to some really, really interesting people over the years. And one of those that really springs to mind, and he's somebody that you rarely hear anyone having a bad word to say about Max Egan. You know, he's one of the most deepest thinkers, very philosophical, very much doesn't only talk the talk, he walks the walk as well. He gets out there, he makes real change in the world. And I just love listening to Max's own podcast. He's got his website, thecrowhouse.com. And like I say, the other day I had said I was going to reach out to Max, try and get him on. And you got to understand there's a real problem sometimes with the time difference with Australia and things. But luckily, Max is going to be up early enough in the morning. And he's been gracious enough. Drop of a hat, no problem, Kev. I'll come on and I'll talk about that. That's the kind of guy Max is on and off air. He really is the real deal, folks. And that's why, to talk about the Australian fires, what's going on down there today, no point me giving you my opinions on second-hand propaganda from the mainstream. Now, a lot of the time, that's what people in the alternative media are left to do. There is only the mainstream narratives out there, and it's kind of difficult to get people on the ground giving you the real story, let alone people that you trust. And Max Egan is definitely one of those people. So he's done a series of videos over on YouTube, right here on YouTube. I say over on YouTube, here on YouTube. And we're just going to take a listen to the first maybe 3 or 4, 5 minutes tops of part 1 of his video series. I think it's really important that we listen to this. And then after we listen to it, we're going to go and we're going to check out the Aussie Man. Because the Aussie Man is one of my favorite YouTube channels. Usually, I get my comedy, my giggles from him, but he's been talking about the Australian fires as well, and what he's put together. Oh, it's infuriating. So let's take a listen to Max Egan.
Hi folks, thought I'd come on and give you a bit of an update about the situation here in Australia. You know, Australia is currently in the grips of a firestorm of hellish proportions. There's a mega fire around about the size of Greater Sydney, which is kind of heading for Sydney as I'm sitting here recording this. We're about to enter into a massive heat wave this week, right on cue, and we are in the grips of probably the worst drought that we've ever seen in this country.
Now, folks, this came out on the 16th of December, so there has been updates, and like I say, Max has done so far 5-part series on this. So yeah, this is from before Christmas time. So Max will be live with me on the stream, on the show on Monday. I just want to give you the kind of stuff that Max is looking at, kind of information Max is putting out there that you're not hearing coming from the mainstream. Oh, shockeroonie.
The line that's being fed to the people that is the cause of this situation that we're having here is climate change and global warming. This is what is being pushed by the government and the media. But such is not the case, folks. The reality is that this situation in Australia has been deliberately manufactured by government, and I'm going to show you why. You know, the thing is, you know, in this country, the river systems are drying up. The creek out the front of my house here has dried up. All of the creeks in the area have dried up. I've been speaking to people at the talk I did on the Gold Coast day before yesterday. Someone even said there that the creeks in Bundaberg are drying up as well. And people are waiting for the rains to come, thinking that when the rains come, it's going to fill the creeks and we're going to be back out of our water-deprived situation. But such is not the case, folks, because all of the creeks around here are spring-fed. All of these creeks should be permanent, but they've stopped flowing because the water has stopped flowing from Northern Territory. The Great Artesian Basin that supplies this country with water has stopped sending water out to the other aquifers because, as I said, the water stopped flowing in the Northern Territory. The way it works in this country, you see this map I've got here of Australia. We have this area up here. We have massive monsoons come across this area, and it feeds this region here called the Great Artesian Basin. And that feeds the creeks and the river systems and all the other aquifers. And the seepage as the rivers come down to the other areas here, the seepage from those rivers fills the aquifers, and this is what brings water to the region I live, which is around here. You know, and all the coastal regions. It's all from the aquifers in the Great Artesian Basin, from the monsoon troughs that come up in the north. And this happens every year like clockwork, and it happened last year as well. There's no reason the Great Artesian Basin should be out of water. There's no reason that the creeks around here should be drying up, irrespective of how little rain we've had, because these creeks have always been permanent. These rivers have always been permanent. The Murray-Darling Basin has always flowed. And would it surprise people to know that right now the Murray River is in flood, but we're just not getting the water down here? In fact, the Murray River has been so much in flood that it's been spilling over the banks of the river and destroying the forests on either side of the river, because these forests are not used to unusual amounts of water, the unusual amounts of water that they're getting. And yet none of the farmlands below south of this area are getting the water because all of the water is being siphoned off. The Murray River is in flood because the water is being channeled down to dams that are privately owned, that are owned by mega agricultural companies and mega mining companies, and they're using this water for private reasons and for their private uses. And this is water, folks, and it's not anything that they have the right to do. And I'll show you a video now.
Now, we're just going to watch this next little clip, and then I urge all of you to check out the full video series over at the Crow House channel on YouTube. I will drop a link in the chat in just a moment. But for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure all of you do, but this is Max Egan, a real Australian, telling you what's going on down there. It's shocking, it's infuriating, and if I was in Australia right now and I was going through this, I'd be absolutely mad. Absolutely mad.
Now, there's a channel you should subscribe to as well if you're in Australia. It's called Liability Mate. These guys are really doing what they can to make a difference, folks, and bring a lot of very, very much needed information to the Australian public. So get onto that channel as well. But have a look at this video that was put up on that channel now, and I'll show you what's going on and why the creeks are dry. Well, one of the reasons the creeks are dry anyway. Have a look at this. It's only 1 minute and 4 seconds. And I'll put a link below. Sorry, folks, I got the camera in the wrong spot. I'll put a link below so that anything that I talk about on the video here today, you can just check below and you'll see a link to it there, and you can check out what's going on there. And check this out. What am I doing? There we go.
1,500 kilometres of the greatest river system is empty, and it's not drought. Floodplain harvesting means where there was floodplains, they kill all the trees, level it off, and they put a big embankment to stop the water actually getting into the river. And they call that harvesting. I'm calling that rape of a river.
Welcome to what's left of the Darling River.
It's got to be a crime, folks. It's got to be a crime of some kind, right?
Come and see it. Come and bring your kids fishing. Let them walk up and down this river and find 50 million dead mussels, yabbies, emus, roos, everything. The whole ecosystem has collapsed, and the trees, they're just dying. See behind us some of the red gums that are hanging on. How long for? Why am I the only live thing when everything else is dead? We've got to make change in this country. Australians have to wake up and fight.
So that's what's...
Yeah, so I urge you all to check that out, folks. I'm going to post a link to Max's channel in the chat room right now. And like I say, he's going to be on the show on Monday. I really do hope you can all tune in for that. That'll be 10 p.m. in the UK, 8 a.m. on Tuesday, Brisbane time. That's if you're in Australia, it'll be Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Brisbane time. Adjust accordingly, either side. I'm not sure the time zones down there. But usual times, 10 p.m. here in the UK, 5 p.m. East Coast, and that is 2 p.m. West Coast. We'll get Max Egan to tell us what's going on down there, because we can't rely. We know we can't rely on the authoritative sources to give us the full picture, the full story. And another YouTuber I absolutely adore. He might actually be one of my very favourites. He's the Aussie man, and he usually does comical reviews of things, but funnily enough, Aussie man is pissed as well. And this is where it's probably going to infuriate you, because we've just seen what allegedly the governments may be doing to not help the situation. And now we're going to get to see what they're like firsthand. Now, if you're not mad by the end of watching this, I think you need to go back and watch it again, because I must be doing something wrong. Check this out.
How you going, you big bloody beautiful bastards? Here's me face. There's no easy way to do a review of
And if his language offends you, I don't apologise. Deal with it. When you think about the things that are going on in the world right now, language is the last thing in the world that we need to be offended by.
fires that are going on in Australia, but it is a topic that I want to talk about, and I want to share some of the footage I've seen online with you guys, and yeah, just have a fucking chat about it. For those of you who don't know what's going on, there's been about 150 to 200 fires burning in Australia since before summer. It's been going on a while. Many of you would have seen the footage of the koala struggling to survive and getting rescued back in late November. And yeah, it hasn't slowed down. In the last week, the conversation around the fires has gone up a level of intensity, I guess because people around the world are now starting to see how inactive and unavailable our government has been throughout this fucking shitstorm. Yeah, Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, returned from his fancy pants Hawaiian holiday the other day, and he tried to go out and meet people that have been affected by the fires, and it didn't go so well, to put it lightly. Why don't I just try commentate some of that footage? I'll roll the footage over here and we'll have a look at it. Here we have Scotty attempting to shake the hand of a pregnant Sheila whose house burnt down. You know what? Fuck that. It doesn't feel right. I'm putting that down. I'm already angry. I'm pissed.
Did you see that, folks? Did you see that? Let's just watch that one little clip again. Okay, of a handshake. Let's see how that handshake goes, right?
I'll roll the footage over here and we'll have a look at it. Here we have Scotty attempting to shake the hand of a pregnant Sheila whose house burnt down. You know what? Fuck that. It doesn't feel right. I'm putting that down. I'm already angry. I'm pissed off. What is he doing? He's grabbing her hand and making her shake his hand as she...
And you can guarantee the next day in the newspaper, that one still image, it would have just been the handshake, right? You know it. You know it.
He attempts to ask a legitimate question about more funding for the rural fire service, for the fucking firefighters. You don't even grab someone's hand and make them shake your hand at a birthday party, let alone doing it to someone whose house has just...
Imagine you'd done that to one of the Hollywood lovies over at the Golden Globes the other night, eh? Imagine you went on to one of these A-list Hollywood actresses and just grabbed her hand. You would be chased out the place. You'd be cancelled. You'd be up on harassment charges. You'd be the latest victim of the Me Too culture, right? Right?
Just turn to fucking ash. You know what I mean? It's like you wait for your friend to introduce you and you each make a gesture.
But you ain't seen nothing yet.
It's, you know, you got to shade. This is Gary, this is Steve, this is Julia. How you going? No, you don't forget over here, you prick. Even the bloody pug is like, what is this motherfucker doing? This is an infringement on social etiquette. And who the fuck is this guy dressed as the bush tucker man? Look at what...
Look at this creepy old dude. You thought the other guy was like, whoa, check him out.
What he's doing to her. Let me roll this footage again.
So many people here have lost their homes. We need more help.
He's like, shh, love, shh. The Prime Minister likes quiet Australians.
Oh, wow. Oh, the woke crowd must love that, eh? Is he like trying to mansplain to her that really the Prime Minister doesn't have enough time to really care about what's going on? All he wanted was a photograph. Do you think that's the mansplaining that's going on there? I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. But where's the woke crowd over this? They should all be reacting. They should all be taking to Twitterati. They should be in the trenches going after these people, but I bet they're not. I bet they're not, because they haven't been told to.
With no questions. Stop asking questions. You go be a quiet Australian. You've got to be a quiet Australian. Fuck me. And I think there's some confusion between Scotty and Bush Tucker Man in terms of the dress code. Anyway, let's see how Scotty goes when he approaches a firefighter.
How you doing? Not bad. You tired? Huh? You be tired? Oh, no, really not tired. Oh, well, it's nice to see you. Nice to see you too, mate.
Wow. Let's watch that bit again. You see that? Just wow.
Huh? You be tired? Oh, no, really not tired. Oh, well, it's nice to see you. Nice to see you too, mate. Tell that fellow I'm really sorry, Joe. No, he's fine. I'm sure he's just tired. No, he left the house. Oh.
I'm sure he's just tired. Well, no, actually, you might not have noticed, Mr. Prime Minister, but he's just lost his house. He might be tired. These people are absolutely unplugged from the real world. Even as apocalyptic scenes, the world is burning around that dude. And he can't comprehend why somebody might not be wanting to talk or might be a bit angry at him. Yeah, maybe he's just a bit tired, eh? Oh. Kidding me? Oh, I feel your pain, Aussie man. I feel your pain.
Just an attempt to get a nice photo. That is what it boils down to. No matter how you try to look at it, his actions are just like, please, I need good publicity. Please. It's shameless and it's
infuriating. And War in the chat room's right. You know, there's many a place this may have happened, and I'm surprised it never happened in Australia. Because in Australia, I'm proud to say that men are still men. And Sheilas are still Sheilas. And I've seen hashtag Sheila too trending in our chat room here. I'm telling you, that old dude needs to get looked into. That was creepy. He's like the Australian version of Joe Biden. He's like that creepy uncle, isn't he? He was a bit too touchy-feely. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
You are out. Good night. What about the people who are dead now, Mr. Prime Minister? What about the people who have nowhere to live?
You're not welcome, you fuckwit.
we're running around in private vehicles with using our private diesel, chainsaws, fuel to put these fires out because there's not enough units on the ground.
What do you want to see the Prime Minister do?
I'll just give all the powers back to the local captains. He's got to do it. Otherwise we're screwed.
For your...
You know the world is screwed when you see a hard-ass Australian man, somebody that's worked the land all his life, I would imagine. When you see him in tears, and you see that other guy that Max Egan was talking about in tears, and then you factor in the people that have lost their lives as well, this is horrendous. And one thing that really irks me about the media around the world, and I'm talking mainstream and alternative, and I'll take my share of the blame here too. Everything is so US, UK centric. And usually it's just the US that get blamed for that, but I'm going to throw the UK under this bus as well. We tend to focus on everything that's going on in our own little bubbles, within our own little lines drawn on a map, on this little island here. And look at the coverage there was of the Californian fires, and rightly so. Rightly so. And then compare that to the coverage there's been of these fires. But they're just fires, and they're just real people, whether they're from California or Australia, right? So it should be the same story. Not the same coverage, though. And also, we've had, I think it was, let me just check this here. I want to get this right. Yeah, let me pull this up. Check that as well. Nearly 200 people arrested across Australia for deliberately starting these fires. What the hell is that all about? Now, I get it. You could say, well, they're working on behalf of more powerful forces. Absolutely. But again, what is this whole thing with humans and our fascination with fire? You see these arsonists all the time, and 200 people arrested for being involved in this. I didn't think Australia would roll like that. And it says authorities in Australia have arrested close to 200 people for deliberately starting the bushfires that have devastated the country. Yet the media and celebrities continue to blame climate change for the disaster. You know, you look at those images there that we had with the Aussie man. Let's just go back to this. You know, that's what the woke brigade will get really, really, really up in arms about. That image there. They'll take to the streets in protest over hashtag Sheila too. While all the while, they won't take up a real moral cause, like speaking out against these bloody fires that are raging in the background and adding to the tone of that picture. See, they've got their priorities all wrong. I don't know. And we're going to speak to Jessica and Dan about this later. It's infuriating, folks. And I always try to leave us with a smile on our faces when we leave. But I don't think it's the time nor the place to follow up that story with anything funny today. I don't. And I make no apology for that either. That's serious stuff. And we might not be there ourselves. We might not be in the middle of it. But try and imagine what that must be like. And I ain't even coming close to getting what it must feel like. And it's horrendous. And then you've got talk about how there's just coincidence, of course, because coincidences happen every day, every minute of every day. These coincidences are everywhere. It's almost like the fire knows the exact path that a new train line's going to go. Now, I haven't looked into that side of things too much myself, but I've heard a couple of people talking about it. I think our good friend Ken, the Rotman, that's sometimes in the chat room, he's brought that up as well. So yeah, there's a lot of shady shenanigans going on around what's going on down there right now. But, you know, the most important thing is the people in the middle of it. And we can sit and we can argue back and forth, you know, our conspiracies or our theories as to what is and what isn't going, but never, ever, ever take your eye off the fact these are real people out there. That's their homes they're losing. It's horrendous. I wish I could do more to help, and I'm sure there are legitimate ways, charities, GoFundMe's out there to get money to the people on the ground. And then I bet there's a whole heap of shenanigans going on around it as well. You'll get people trying to con people over things like this. So, I mean, I don't know if for people out there who do want to help more, to do more, I don't know where to point you. And I'm sure I'll be asking Jessica and Dan tonight. Again, I don't think they're in the direct line of this, but this is their country, you know. And it might be a huge, huge country, Australia, but the actual population of it is not that vast. It's not that big at all when you look at in comparison to the size of the place. And yeah, Monday as well, we're going to have Max on to speak to this further. And to all of our Australian listeners down there, it's not that I haven't cared that this has been going on. It's just that now I'm able to get Max on to speak to it better. We're going to get people down there. And again, I would have been left to just give my opinion on a lot of the mainstream articles that are out there. I think it's always best if we can go to people that are right there, people we can trust as well. And for people who haven't heard much of Max Egan, this is the one time I probably would say to you, take my word for this. Max Egan is the real deal. He has got no agendas, folks. None whatsoever. And he goes around the world literally helping people. And he doesn't sing and dance about it. He doesn't do it to have a social media party where everyone loves what he's doing. That isn't how Max rolls. Max is the real deal. And I remember Max, he was on our show the last time, and he was talking about how when he was just a young boy, you know, really, really young, out in the bush, the same bush that we're seeing these horrendous pictures coming from. And he was saying to his mum, you know, why don't we just come and live in the bush? Why don't we just live out here? And his mum was explaining, you know, well, people own the land. And as a young boy, Max could never get his head around that. Never get his head around how somebody could own parts of the land, the planet. And I think, you know, from that early age, Max has been on a path that is really taking him to another level of thinking. And if you haven't checked him out, please do so. I'll show you his channel right now before we wrap this up. I'll come to the chat room for 5-10 minutes as well before we leave today, see what you're saying about all of this. But yeah, it's pretty shocking stuff down there in Australia right now. So there's Max's channel, The Crow House. I'll post this here. Where are we? There we go. So give me a minute. I'll be back. We'll get the chat, and then I'll go make Anne's dinner, and then I'll get back to you tonight with Digging for Truth Down Under. Oh yes, real life archaeologists from Australia. Get into the Gosford glyphs. We'll be getting into Ayers Rock, the Aboriginal kind of culture as well, some of their stories, and I'll be getting their update on everything that's going on in regards with the fires. So give me a minute, folks, and I'll be right back. Okay then, so let's see what some of you are saying here. I want to go to an Australian first up, and it is Paul, and he's got a really cool second name, Paul Baker. He says, yes, there have been people lighting fires in some places. They will have, they will place a news story out that a certain place will have a fire, and you can bet there will be a fire. Wow, man. Mr. Niter, I would like to have a Richard. He's here in Australia. You see these clowns out there, and they just cut them down. Solitech, nice to see you here. Says, well said, Kev. I approve of Max. Definitely, Max is the real deal. And if you're fresh, just waking up and coming to this new research kind of stuff, Max Egan is definitely the place to go. Maureen, I couldn't agree with you more. Selling a country's primary water is treasonous. And if you watch Max's video, it goes on to show you some of the areas, and it's just horrendous what's going on there. It really is. And then we had somebody up here saying, Mr. Niter, like in Africa, the Zulu tribe is getting ready to help the farmers there that are being persecuted. And like in Australia, the Bushmen should rise and catch these people and take care of them too. I would imagine, you know, good shout, good shout. Nana, looking forward to this evening's show. I hope you can make it. I can't wait for tonight's show. It's going to be a blast. Mammoth Hunter is somebody that's come into the chat here and we've all got used to, and yeah, and I just love Australia anyway. So Jason says it's absolutely heartbreaking what's happening in Australia, keeping the water from the land, the people from the land and people for China, and industries for fracking and mining. No wonder it's so dry. And if you go to watch that full video, you come to find that the whole fracking thing is very, very widespread. It's horrendous. So let's see what else has been said here. DJ B2, I'm drinking Birra Moretti, a thing I discovered in Firenze in 2000. It sounds awesome. Yep, selling their water. China owns Australia. Certainly feels like that at times. And not much speak of the Aboriginal people in amongst all of this. The people who, if you're going to give ownership of any bit of land in the world, you'd give it to the original people, right? Shocking how the Aboriginal people get treated. It truly, truly is. So, folks, listen, I'm going to go get Anne's dinner on. I'm going to get ready, because tonight we go down under. I can't wait. I've been looking forward to this show forever. Mammoth, Jessica, and her husband, Dan, will be here live on the main Kev Baker show later today from 10 p.m. in the UK, and that's 5 p.m. on the East Coast and 2 p.m. on the West Coast. So, until then, folks, you know what's coming next. You love my little outro. Keep it real out there, okay? And a big shout out. And I know it's almost akin to virtue signaling, but I really do keep the people of Australia in my thoughts right now. Big shout out to everyone down under. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.